So in previous screencasts, I've discussed fossil fuel energy sources and nuclear energy sources, both of which are finite. So to look at the future of energy, we need to turn to three major ways of allowing us to continue to have energy without running out and without damaging the environment and human health. So the current strategy of energy conservation and the strategy of increased energy efficiency I've mentioned before, but let's look at it again. It's very important to find ways to use less energy, reducing demand, reducing consumption. So for a household example of energy conservation, we have doing things like turning back the thermostat. So let's say it's winter and you would like your thermostat set at 70. If you back it up a couple of degrees to 68, you will use less energy to heat your home, and that will also save you money. Increasing energy efficiency is different than energy conservation. I know these can be close confusers. When you increase energy efficiency, you increase the efficiency of a particular appliance, for example, or anything that's mechanized. You get the same result from using a smaller amount of energy. And that's not by using less energy, but by a technological advance. So for example, you have your old washing machine that uses a lot of water, a lot of electrical energy, and you have your more energy efficient models. They use both less water, which is a bonus, but they also run a load of laundry, the same amount as the old washer, but using far less electricity. In our homes, our appliances can be rated for their energy efficiency, and that's a number you can believe. It's whether it's Energy Star would be the most energy efficient type of appliance. And if you're running a business, you can also look at it from that perspective. So let me throw an example at you, and you can consider whether it's an example of energy conservation or energy efficiency. At school, we have lights set to, they're motion activated lights. So when you walk around a room, the lights will come on. When the room is not in use, a few minutes, very few minutes, and if no one turns off the light in a few minutes, the lights will shut themselves off. Would that be energy conservation or energy efficiency? That would be energy conservation, because you don't run the risk of leaving the lights on. Energy efficiency would be if you change the type of bulb that was being used to light the room in the first place, then that would be energy efficiency. So following both those strategies are the future of maintaining our energy for the future. A third source of continuing to meet our demand without damaging the environment and human health would be to use renewable energy resources. These are resources that are called renewable because they fall into one of two categories. They can be rapidly regenerated. If we don't use them faster, then they can be regenerated. So that would be things like using wood from trees. Trees are renewable, but only if we don't take so many trees that the new trees don't have time to grow. So it can be rapidly regenerated, for example, within our lifetime or even shorter. If we don't use them faster, then they can be regenerated. Another version of renewable energy resources are sources that cannot be depleted whatsoever. And so that would be things like sun energy, solar energy. So there's always going to be, certainly for many, many, many lifetimes ahead, there will be a continuous sunlight, a sun's energy coming to the earth, never being depleted. And so that is considered a renewable energy resource. Same with wind, which is, as we discussed previously, generated from the uneven heating of the earth. So that would be another example of a renewable energy resource. Okay, now we're going to take a look at some examples of how energy can be conserved, or different types of renewable energy resources that exist. So let's take a look at a few examples here. First, we're going to look at energy efficiency versus energy conservation. And you see here a home with a roof that has a long overhang. And you see that in the summer, the sun is higher in the sky, and so it's blocked by this overhang from getting into this room and heating it. Excuse me. In the winter, when the sun is lower and you want that heat to make it into the room to help keep it warm, it can. So that's a design way to make a more efficient use of the sun's energy simply by having this overhang. And there are other things that can be done. There's types of stone flooring that can be heat absorbing. And so in the winter, that's great. They heat some of this flooring. In the summer, they don't get hot. They stay nice and cool. You can also have special double paned and even triple paned windows, which keep the heat in or the cold air out. And you can even use a window shade simply to extend the blocking of the sun, depending if you were in, say, an in-between season right here. And these have environmental and economic advantages. And money saving is good for both home and business. Okay, now we have some examples of energy conservation within the home. And the energy company that you use, all of your energy companies, will do a free analysis or audit of your home to see what steps can be taken to insulate it better, or in other ways conserve energy. And will also give you rebates and sometimes light bulbs and things like that to help get you started. So in a home, you would want to look at weatherization, whether everything is insulated in between the walls, and if there are any gaps, particularly at the windows and doors. Turning down the thermostat, I've already mentioned. Reduce the use of hot water in laundry, and by showering shorter periods of time, or using a more efficient, well, that's one example of efficiency. Let me skip that for now. So taking a shorter shower, using colder water to do the laundry would be energy conservation. We also looked at energy efficiency when we looked at the efficiency of a heater, or the amount of water that needs to be heated. That would be energy efficiency. Simply replacing incandescent bulbs with compact fluorescents or LEDs also conserves energy. We should consider transportation. Where can we walk or ride a bike? Can we use public transportation? Can we carpool? I mean, even if you just rode to school or work with another person, you are essentially having or cutting in half the amount of energy of gasoline that's used. And can you consolidate trips? Can you make one trip to the grocery store and the hardware store rather than going back and forth? Another source of energy conservation is through electrical and electronic devices. As I mentioned before, Energy Star devices and appliances do conserve energy. You can also unplug when that's possible, or if you have a power strip, you can simply click it to off, and that will stop the flow of electricity. And even using a laptop conserves energy more than using a desktop computer. So next we're just going to look at one of the ultimate source of most energy types. Okay, so we have here the sun, and the sun allows for photosynthesis by what was once ancient plants and algae, and those over millions of years of time became the fossil fuels. So fossil fuels actually started with sunlight. Then we also have sunlight leading to solar energy directly, the differential heating of the Earth's atmosphere, creating wind flow, and water flow, so hydroelectric dams, heating of the ground, which can be extracted using ground source heat pumps, and last but not least, photosynthesis by modern plants and algae. So you could have wood, which was able to reproduce and grow and produce its own food through photosynthesis and eventually provide the energy source that is known as coal. And other animal plants may as well. For example, some plants might be ingested by animals producing manure, which can be burned as a use of energy, and also some plants can be used to create liquid biofuels. We are looking currently, instead of something slow growing such as wood, they're looking at materials that grow faster, such as switchgrass, to be able to be used as a renewable energy source. And we have down here on the bottom two things that are not ultimately started by the sun. And those are nuclear reactions, which begin with nuclear material. And we have the gravitational pull of the moon, which creates tides, and the movement of the water in a tide can be used to create energy. All right, let's see where I am in terms of time. Okay, I'm going to end it here, and then we'll move on to modern carbon versus fossil carbon.